Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome to our Week 14 Steelers recap. I'm your host, Jim Sella, here with Jay Dash. The Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Bills 27-20 in Buffalo. I think the biggest story coming out of that game was Le'Veon Bell's nearly 300 yards, and the Bills only had 275 themselves as a team. So Le'Veon outgained the entire Bills offense.
Yeah, and I think it's the most yards in Pittsburgh Steelers history on the ground, 236 yards. That's amazing to me.
For one guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. One player in a game, yeah. Out of all the great running backs Pittsburgh had, Le'Veon Bell had pretty much the best game in a regular season in Steelers history, really. Added 3 rushing touchdowns on the ground as well. He was overused, 38 carries.
Overused. I think they were afraid to give Buttery Croissant a chance because they know what's going to happen.
Well, I think they were scared to pass the ball, too. Big Ben, 17 of 31, 220 yards, 3 picks, no touchdowns.
Yeah, the picks in the red zone is really what did this team in. This game could have been almost in the 40s for the Steelers if they would have capitalized 2 touchdowns there. So I think that's the biggest reason why the game looks close, but it really wasn't close all game. The Pittsburgh Steelers dominated on the ground and defensively. I couldn't believe how good that defense was playing, especially early in the football game.
Would you believe this is the most points the defense let up in a win this season? 20 points?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. They've only been allowing 10 points per game in the last three wins, so
yeah,
the defense is playing really good. People are underrating this defense.
Yeah, 5 sacks in this game. I tell you what, Sean Davis is a beast. He had a sack and a half in this game as well. Like I said in the preview, or maybe it was the recap of last week, this guy is all over the field making plays at the line of scrimmage. This guy looks like he's going to be a monster if he can just stay healthy. And again, Artie Burns coming up with his 3rd pick of the season, I believe it is. 3 picks for a rookie in the Steelers system is pretty beast.
That's 3 more than Ike Taylor had his entire career.
It seems like it, doesn't it?
I think Ike's career high was 3, and I'm not even joking. And maybe he had one good year where he had like 5, but I'm pretty sure Ike's career high in a season was 3.
But you look, Bud Dupree, 2 sacks in this game as well.
Ballin'. We were talking earlier in the season, we didn't expect him to come on really strong when he first came out. You know, it's been a really long time since he's played a real meaningful football game. And aside from that first game back where he only played 1 snap, this guy is all over the field and getting in quarterbacks' faces all day long.
Yeah, and this defense could take them pretty far in the playoffs if they can just get there. I tell you what, that's what you need is a defense in the playoffs. Everybody says the defense wins championships. Obviously, you need a good quarterback. We know we have that. But this defense looks totally different than over even just a few weeks ago. During that 4-game losing streak, it looked like this defense was one of the worst in the league. Now, I know injuries have a little bit to do with that. And since then, Artie Burns and Sean Davis has stepped up into this defense. And you can't forget the linebackers either. It's been a total turnaround for these linebackers in this defense. It's a total flip-flop. They've done a 180 since that 4-game losing streak. This defense is on a tear right now. And like I said before the preview, now I did say I thought the Bills were going to win this game. They didn't have a chance because of Le'Veon Bell pretty much. But this defense is something I said I believed in, and each week I see them play, I believe in them more and more.
You know the one thing that disappointed me about the defense? They screwed Willie Gay out of his pick 6. Come on, man.
Yeah, I tell you what, they called pass interference on the defense. I forget who they called it on, but Marquise Goodwin was the wide receiver, and he was the one that was pass interfering. So to me, that was a crank call, and that should have been a pick 6.
Yeah, I love Willie Gay. I hated him early in his career. I love him now. He takes picks to the house.
Please believe.
I'm just excited to see a Steelers defense that looks like they want to be out there. Literally, during that 4-game losing streak, some of the players, and I mean, we knew they wanted to, whether they were just confused and didn't quite know where to be, or I don't know what's changed, but they looked like they didn't even want to be on the field then. Now it looks like Sean Davis wants to murder every single person that moves. He looks like the water boy out there. He's serious. I've never seen a safety outside of Troy Polamalu, and I'm not comparing him to Polamalu yet. Just saying that I
Yeah,
haven't seen a safety wreak havoc on a quarterback like Sean Davis has, and I don't even know how long. Honestly, you don't see safeties getting this much pressure on QBs.
I tell you what, though, this offense, if it wasn't for Le'Veon Bell and this offensive line, man, this game could have got ugly. Now, I said I wanted to see the Steelers come out and have a good offensive week, and I'm kind of with mixed results on it. Yeah, they put up 27 points. I'll take that on the road every day, obviously. But the way Big Ben looked, they just had no passing game, really. If it wasn't for just Le'Veon Bell getting chunks of yardage all game, it would have been a lot tougher offensively.
Think about this though, and I'm not making an excuse. I agree with you. If Roethlisberger goes 19 of 31 and only throws one pick instead of those two red zone picks, then I'm really not too concerned with the offense's performance as a whole because we're not really concerned with how many yards Ben throws for. We're just more concerned with putting the ball in the end zone. And if those two plays go differently, then I really have no issue at all. But I do have an issue with the passing game. I think the wind had a lot to do with it. The weather wasn't great up there. The field looked horrible. Did you see everybody sliding? But at one point, I forget which Steeler player was running the ball, and they were in the open field, and the Buffalo defender didn't even try to stop, cut, and tackle. He just literally kind of trotted right past them and was like, I don't care.
Yeah, I think that was Antonio Brown.
Yeah, it was crazy. They had to superimpose black over the numbers on the field because you couldn't even see the numbers on the field. It's not the most snow I've ever seen in a football game. It just looked like it was the slickest I've ever seen.
Well, did you see what happened at halftime?
What a debacle, huh?
Yeah, that was ridiculous. It was pretty
Social
funny,
media
though.
was blowing up. Saying
The
they
whole
only put
field
these
was
pellets
black
down.
for a minute.
Yeah, well, those pellets are always there.
Oh, I know. I
just-
played on turf before. I know they're there, but they must have never scraped the snow off with those machines or something. It dug in too deep and it brought it up, man. I mean, that's not supposed to happen, obviously.
And then they were going to let them play with it all over the side, like the white lines on the side. Somebody was going to break their ankle.
But
It was crazy.
the way I see it is, like I was saying, with mixed results about this offense, is Ben is a lot different at home compared to the road, and I wanted to see a good game overall by this offense, and really I just seen a domination by this run game, the offensive line. And I mean, you got to give props to the offensive line. Ben didn't get sacked in this game. They only allowed 16 sacks on this season.
That's the best in the league, I believe.
I'm not sure about that, but I would believe it. I mean, they've been beasts this season. You look, Le'Veon Bell already over 1,000 yards. That's with a 3-game suspension, 3 games left in the season. And considering how much he's used in the passing game as well, it's ridiculous. But I wanted to see a complete game out of this offense, and we were missing that passing attack, which they didn't need, I admit. And if you don't need it, whatever. But we still really haven't seen any game where this offense looked complete this season on the road outside of those 2 primetime games.
When do you think D'Angelo is going to get back so Bell doesn't have to carry it 48 times a game?
I heard
58 or 68 or whatever he carried it.
I heard he could be back this week.
Who's Burfict going to injure this week in the game?
I'm not sure, but I did read an article that said that at one point in the offseason, Burfict apologized to Antonio Brown in person.
Yeah, I read an article that said the same thing. I don't know if I believe it, but...
Yeah, who knows? But if he did, good for him at least.
Yeah, dude's still a punk. He still injured Le'Veon and Roethlisberger on purpose. What about Tyrod Taylor? If you're the Bills, are you going to bring this guy back? If they have him on the 4th day of the league year next year, and I think I asked you this in the preview, they're going to owe him right around $30 million guaranteed. So it's not like they can cut him and get away from it.
That is a lot of money, so it's tough to say. But I would say they really didn't give him a fair chance out there with the receiving core he's had this season. So, I mean, it's tough to say. If they want to move on from him, fine. But like I said, I don't think he really got a fair shot with a solid offense or anything around him. I mean, the only thing he had was LaShawn McCoy. And like I mentioned in the preview, you had to watch out for McCoy in this game, in the passing game, even though he really didn't do much this season. And he actually did have a pretty good game in the passing game.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, how did he have a better game out of the backfield in the passing game than rushing the football? Rushing's his bread and butter. He's not really that receiving threat like Le'Veon is.
I think it's the Steelers defense this season, man. The secondary's gotten better, and they've been able to stop the run for the most part this season, outside of that 4-game losing streak where they were injured. But I mean, it has to do with the Steelers defense, I think, stopping the run and the secondary being better. It looks like the one spot that they've been getting beat on this season is that running back in the passing game, and that's just how it turned up this week. And thankfully, it didn't really hurt him, because really Tyrod Taylor didn't have that great of a game. Although, I mean, he wasn't terrible. If you compare his numbers to Big Ben's, he actually had a little bit better of a game.
Think about this defensively. Cam Hayward comes back healthy next year. Javon Hargrave has one more, a full year under his belt. To it, you're bringing him back. You still have Shazier. Who knows about Harrison and Jones, but you still have Dupree and Moats at least. And I kind of have a feeling they're going to be able to bring Timmons back on a lower salary than what he's making this year. I didn't think they were going to before, but even if not, they still have Vince Williams. But this defensive backfield, you have Sean Davis, young guy, playing great. Artie Burns, young guy, playing great. Ross Cockrell is still a young guy, and he's playing good. If Senquez Golson can step in and stay healthy, obviously, because we haven't seen it yet, but if he can make any impact at all as a third-year rookie, this defense can be really, really good next season.
They look really, really good right now to me.
Are you surprised by the turnaround by this young defense?
Well, I don't know. I've had the defenses back over the past couple seasons, and it's definitely better than it has been over the past couple seasons, at least at this point. I mean, just a few weeks ago, we were talking totally different because they weren't stopping the run, and it was like, at least they stopped the run the past couple seasons. They got beat in a passing game, but whatever, you stop the run, that's fine, and they weren't even stopping the run then. But over this 4-game winning streak, I mean, this defense hasn't looked as good in probably, 4 or 5 years now. So did I even answer the question? What was the question? Oh, it was about, am I surprised how the young defense has stepped up or whatever? Yes. But no, not really, man. This is the defense I expected them to have the past couple years, really.
So they're 9th in points per game defensively at 19.7. They're 11th in yards total, 342.7. And they're 4th against the run, which we knew, 90.1. Against the pass, they're climbing 21st in the league now, allowing 252.6 yards. I mean, the last 2 years, they were seriously around 30th or 29th? I know 21st is not great. If that backfield can get them up to, above 15 in that first half of the league, there's no reason that with this defense and this offense that they can't contend for the, AFC spot in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, really, it doesn't even matter to me. They don't have to get up to 15 at this point. I don't really care. What I see on the field looks great to me, and it really has a lot to do with, I know Sean Davis has been great, and he's been great in the run game and the pass game, but Artie Burns is the difference to me, because that lets Willie Gay move back to that slot corner, and let me tell you, he's looked a lot better since he's moved back there, hasn't he?
Believe it. Maybe he'll get another pick six next week. Hopefully it doesn't get taken back.
Hopefully. I hope Artie Burns keeps picking the ball off as well, man. He looks like a playmaker.
Do we even have to ask about offensive player of the game?
Well, since you're going to give it to Le'Veon Bell because he has one of the best games in the history of the Steelers offensively on the ground, I'm going to give it to that offensive line, man. No sacks, like I said, and with Le'Veon doing what he did, this offensive line has been great this season. And there's a lot of talk about Todd Haley getting a head coaching job, maybe the LA Rams, I heard. I tell you what, with all this talent offensively, the way the offensive line looks, they should be averaging more points. So I don't see how this is the year that Todd Haley gets talked about for a coaching job when really the offense hasn't done what they said they were going to do.
I keep hearing Jim Harbaugh is going to be the coach in St. Louis or LA. I still call him St. Louis. I can't help it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know where he's going to go necessarily. It's a little too early to say. I also heard Indy for Todd Haley as well, so he can go coach Andrew Luck. But, just all this talent offensively. You look, the Pittsburgh Steelers may be the most talented team offensively in football. And this team isn't scoring 30 points per game like they said they were going to do, and it's not even close, really. I mean, it probably has gone up since the last time you went over it, but it was around 24 points per game at one point, wasn't it?
It's 24.4 right now. We're 12th in the league.
I mean, that sounds terrible to me. With
Yeah.
all this talent. I mean, it's not terrible, don't get me wrong, but when you have Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, now I know there isn't much in the receiving core behind Brown at this point because Sammy Coates.
Darius Green is the truth. He just had a couple of mishaps in this game.
Yeah, I like Ladarius Green, definitely, but I don't know. With this offensive line looking like they do, this team should be number 1 in points scored.
Please believe. Defensive player of the game?
I'm going to go with Sean Davis. He's all over the field, a sack and a half in this game. I love it. He's getting to the quarterback. He looks good in the passing game as well, defending the pass. So Sean Davis is the man.
I'm split between Shazier or Dupree. Shazier had 8 tackles and a sack. Dupree had 5 tackles and 2 sacks. Both these guys are balling. Lawrence Timmons is balling. I know he didn't have as big of a game as he had in the past. I think he only had 1 tackle in this game, actually. But this linebacking core as a whole is playing great.
Believe it. So, did you pick one?
I'm going to go with them both.
Both of them? Well, all right. I'm going with the rest of the defense. They all look good.
Co-players of the game, fool. No, I'll give it to Dupree. We'll give it to him. I've given it to Shazier already once this year. But Dupree.
So Buffalo, do they still have a shot at the playoffs?
I think mathematically, but not realistically.
Well, you look, the Miami Dolphins just lost Ryan Tannehill. They're sitting 2 games back of them right now. Without Tannehill, I don't see Miami doing much, I tell you that. But you still got Baltimore and Pittsburgh in the AFC North, obviously. And you got Houston and the Titans, plus Indy's at 6 and 7 as well. So you got 3 teams battling there that could keep Buffalo out. And plus you have 3 more teams in the AFC West, the Broncos, Raiders, and Chiefs. So it is going to be tough for Buffalo now.
Yeah, I believe it. I just don't think they have the offense to win in this league. I'm not hating on Tyrod Taylor. I don't think they're using him right. You got to play to his strengths. And people always try to take these mobile quarterbacks and make them into pocket passers. You got to embrace what he is. Let him be who he is. Let him play the way he's always played if you want him to succeed. And then if not, don't have that style of quarterback.
That's it.
Anything else? That's all?
Mm-hmm.
Wrapping it up. Fans, follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. As always, come back to YouTube. Click subscribe. 1 billion followers. Ball.